Something feels off. We hit an all-time high of 126,000, and a few days ago we were sliding below 98K.
No! No! No!
The price action it doesn't make any sense. We've got BlackRock, Sailor, and other treasury companies buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. The Trump administration saying America will be the leaders of crypto. All the bullish news you could want. Yet the chart keeps bleeding red. I started to think, why is Bitcoin dumping in a supposed bull market? What if the answer to that isn't anything macro at all? What if the problem isn't coming from Wall Street, but from inside of Bitcoin itself? What if the real risk isn't the price, but it's the software itself? Because while most people are staring at the charts, to me, it feels a lot like something that already happened in a past bull run. Remember 2017?
Bitcoin at $20,000 and $150 per coin. That's what you got. It's up
record
$3,000 up.
Yeah.
Up 19%,
yeah,
new
right.
record high.
So the previous record was 19,600 and change. So this really blows it out of the water. But don't forget, that, we have concentrated Bitcoin trading. 95% of it is helmed by just 2 or 3 of these whale traders.
Back then, the so-called fork wars tested Bitcoin's strength, and when it held together, it proved this network could survive anything. But some people are starting to wonder if another internal battle is brewing, one that could define what Bitcoin really is in the years ahead. Welcome back to Simply Bitcoin's Satoshi. I'm Sophie, and today we're going to be talking about the price, but instead of staring at charts and drawing speculative conclusions, I'm going to break down the hidden reason I suspect Bitcoin's price has strangely stalled during a bull run. And it's something that has been highly requested in the comments, so you don't want to miss it. Let's be real. Bitcoin feels a little weird right now. We all thought that by now Bitcoin would have reached 150K and above. The halving behind us, bullish news around ETFs, and even governments talking about reserves. By all logic, this should be my number go up era. I should be buying furniture right now. Instead, the price is drifting down, slowly, uneasily. It's not a panic, it's more like fatigue. And due to the fatigue, the community's starting to turn on itself, not over memes or politics, but over the software that runs Bitcoin.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that? You should be medicated.
Scroll through X or tune into one of the latest conferences and you'll see the discourse. That debate in the Plan B forum, that was spicy. What am I talking about? Core versus knots. Ordinals versus purity. Code is law versus Bitcoin is money. It's getting heated. Devs are blocking each other.
Access denied.
Plebs are picking sides, and suddenly everyone's talking about Core 30 like it's a villain update because some have correlated the update to the reason Bitcoin is crashing. In my opinion, that's sort of a stretch, and there is no evidence of causation at all, but the correlation could definitely be there. So is that what's actually happening here? I mean, markets move on emotion. And at this moment, Bitcoiners' emotions aren't running on core or knots. They're just running really high.
Look at that car. It's on fire?
When the builders disagree on what Bitcoin is, the uncertainty potentially ripples out as price volatility. Not because the code broke, but because OG Whale's conviction could be. After all, last month, over $33 billion were liquidated by longtime Bitcoin holders. Could they have timed the top on October 6th, or did the update have something to do with it? Or maybe they just finally wanted to be fiat rich. I don't know. That's I don't know. That's what I would do.
I haven't weighed into this discussion very much, so I will now. I have been running knots. I haven't. I won't upgrade to the new version. Or sorry, I have been running core. I won't upgrade, and I'm going to run knots. And so, I think they're on the right side of this. But it's also I'm not as vitral against core and everything else as many people are. I think it would be easy to make a whole bunch of mistakes. To trust 20, 30, 80 people to know everything we're talking about Bitcoin would be ludicrous. In fact, a lot of the threat model to Bitcoin used to be, what if core was compromised? And if you just ran what would naturally happen from a centralized system that was getting stronger and stronger through our actions, you'd expect core to get compromised at some point. And I've always said, well, it doesn't matter, because you would just split it off because it can't be stopped. And so what Luke and Bitcoin Mechanic and others really just showed is they made Bitcoin stronger and more and ossified more by providing choice. Like when core came in with heavy-handed, here's the way we're doing it. Another thing was created, and the market spoke. Yeah. And that's why I think we're at 16.6% knots today and growing. So it's telling you something. It's telling you that this can't be. No one can say this is what you have to do. The more you do that, this is what you have to do, the more you're going to drive people to make sure this is decentralized and secure, because those risks are too great. So what I would say is there's too many people who care, right? There's too many people who care about this, who are not going to bury their head in the sand and say, I'm going to accept those risks. No.
All right, some of you are probably asking yourself, what the fuck is core and knots, and why does this matter to anyone outside of Bitcoin Twitters?
Yeah.
So let me try to explain this the easiest way I can. Bitcoin Core is the main software that powers about 80% of the entire Bitcoin network. Think of it as an operating system for Bitcoin, open source, volunteer maintained, and trusted by almost everyone. Version 30 is its newest release. On paper, it's a minor update. But here's the major controversy that started this debate. It continues allowing an update to the data size of the OP return limit. Please see definition of what that is up here. Meaning that the increase in size could allow for storing images, text, tokens, whatever they want on your blockchain. Honestly, you don't need to understand all of the technicality. I definitely don't. But in other words, it means that Bitcoin can now store more than just money. It can also store random stuff. JPEGs, memes, even questionable files, like files you may not want to see ever in your life. Now, just to be clear, this doesn't break Bitcoin. Bitcoin still works perfectly. Core developers say Bitcoin is neutral. If you pay the fee, your data is valid. However, some argue this loophole changes what some people might use Bitcoin for. And critics argue Bitcoin was meant for money, not to become a blockchain version of Google Drive. That's the split. It's not just technical, it's also deeply philosophical.
Initially, hold on, let me address this because it's relevant. When WikiLeaks started transacting on Bitcoin, it made Satoshi pretty uncomfortable. And he said, famously, it would have been nice to have gotten this attention in any other capacity. We have kicked the hornet's nest, and now the swarm is headed towards us. It was scary. Let's be honest. Bitcoin is strong and it's anti-fragile, but there is a degree of discomfort that people that want to engage with the network will tolerate before they walk away from it. And Satoshi set a pretty strong precedent then that money needs to be neutral to work. One Bitcoin needs to be one Bitcoin. And ultimately, maintaining a ledger that reflects financial history, no matter how egregious that financial history is, I don't care. I've said this many times before. I don't care if you're buying, if you're buying a glass of milk or if you're financing Al-Qaeda or something. I don't care. It's all money and it's defensible having a neutral monetary network. But humans fundamentally do not consider file storage the same thing. So if someone gets caught, let's move away. The CSAM argument has been brought up. I don't like talking about it because it's such an emotionally charged topic that people think immediately I'm trying to be manipulative. But there are there is file storage protocols out there that people will not use to the degree where they expect the world to view them as doing something admirable. You're not going to run a file storage server in your house and give people the ability to anonymously upload any data to it for some ethical great to design, because people just don't work like that. If someone's getting dragged off to jail because they have illicit government, files, malware, all that stuff, which, by the way, the Bitcoin network is a gift to anyone that wants to engage in that kind of stuff, because it has anonymous upload and it has enthusiastic peers that will relay this to anyone on request. That stuff is just not something that most people I know are prepared to say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. To have Bitcoin be what it needs to be, I'm willing to run a neutral file server in my house. And that is why I think, yeah, okay, Bitcoin, oh my God, it didn't die the day they released Core 30. And if you want to make straw man positions like that, fine, but you just make yourself look like a clown. No one is saying it's going to die today, but I'm saying you're putting pressure on nodes to become arbitrary file storage systems, and most people don't really want the headache that comes with that, because it has nothing to do with money.
Look, we had this discussion.
Congratulations, your IQ will go up 2 points after watching this video. And to the average person, this might not seem like a big deal. It might seem like we're all nerding out.
Nerd alert!
But the reality is, the implications are significant when you consider Bitcoin in the long term, which most Bitcoiners do. Every update encodes a worldview. Core 30 didn't just patch a bug, it reaffirmed a principle that neutrality matters more than purity. The question is whether that principle scales or dilutes Bitcoin's purpose.
There's the whole debate about, is it spam? And can we stop spam? Should we stop spam? There's the debate upon, is Bitcoin money or is it arbitrary data? And do we want Bitcoin to be just a cryptographic blob, a cryptographic accumulator, in Adam Back's words? Or do we want to say it's money? And then there's the whole facet of just core versus knots, developers being against knots and knots against core, and that goes into another rabbit hole of what is a bug even, because if you go back in time to where it kind of kicked off, it is really the ordinals inscription spam, right? And that was when Luke logged a bug, CV 2023-50428, basically saying that these new protocols are bypassing data carrier size, and a lot of core developers just said, nope, not a bug, it's a feature. So they kind of changed documentation to fix the bug. And I think that is kind of where, in my mind, the schism happened. And the fallout now over knots versus core and op return is downstream of that moment in time. So it's a big can of worms, I would say, overall. But the net effect is maybe it's a battle over the core repo, because core has kind of booted Luke now. Like when they were first proposing the changed op return, they kind of were banning people and locking the thread to prevent people from knacking, and then unlocking it to ack it, and then relocking it. It's just an incredibly childish thing that they were doing. But Luke is kind of excommunicated from the Church of Core now, and that's probably a major factor in the ongoing battle. He's got knots gaining traction, a lot of traction, and I would say Ocean is overall gaining a lot of hash rate too. So the whole situation is kind of a really bad situation that we got into that could have been avoided, I believe, if there were more people listening to Luke at that time and we nipped the spam issue in the bud early on. But here we are.
The debate has now escalated into what people are calling Bitcoin's civil war. And it's all happening online in GitHub threads and node dashboards. You won't catch me there, but that's where it's happening. The Bitcoin Core side, backed by the majority of the network, including OG developers like Adam Back, Jameson Lopp, Peter Todd, and funded by organizations like Block and MIT, they believe Bitcoin should remain open and permissionless. Basically, if the rules allow it and the fee is paid, it's fair game. It's kind of like a free speech argument. On the other, Bitcoin Knots, a smaller, independent version of the same software maintained by developer Luke Dash Jr., with prominent supporters like Mechanic, Jimmy Song, and other OGs who favor a stricter monetary focus, Knots filters out the inscription data. Its fundamentals lie in the belief that Bitcoin and the network should only be used as money. Both use the same blockchain, and they're still compatible today, but the social divide is growing.
That's against the rules, and you can't sit with us. Whatever. Those rules aren't real.
Supporters of Knots say they're defending Bitcoin's soul. Core developers say they're defending Bitcoin's neutrality. Neither side is wrong, and that's the scary part. Civil wars don't start when enemies disagree. They start when allies do, when both sides think they're protecting the same thing from different threats. And to be honest, this isn't the first time Bitcoin's community has split over values. The difference now is that most people outside of the dev circles barely even realize it's happening. Yet, it could quietly shape the future of Bitcoin itself.
Most likely, they see it as they're doing the right thing, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I still don't understand the logic. It still hasn't been explained to me why you're not changing it to 160 instead of 100,000. That just seems like you're opening the doors wide open, right? It's not even leaving a lock, removing the lock. It's just leaving it wide
Taking
open.
the door off,
Like that still has, and the only reason I've gotten is, well, you know, if somebody needs 320, then we're gonna have to do another pull request, and then somebody needs like 640, then we're gonna have to do another pull request. I'm like, okay,
it's almost
so
like we can't get this in while we have the monopoly.
Like, just because you don't want to go through the political battles more often. Like, if it's like a user issue, I don't see why you would open the doors wide open.
Well,
You know, like
if they're, you know, when this whole debate started, it seemed like it was like, well, it's not really that big of a deal, so why are you even worried about it? But if they can be this adamant about and push back against the community on something that's not such a big deal, is that testing the water for something bigger down the road? And it's just
that's one of my big concerns is that, you know, the core consensus process is a little broken right now, because consensus should mean everybody agrees. Everybody clearly doesn't, but this is
why
going
rush
through.
this through?
And you know, for policy decision, it doesn't matter all that much. I mean, it's going to have some consequences, but it's you know, for consensus changes, that's gonna result in a fork of some kind. So, you know, I worry about where like, if they're this adamant on this particular change, then where, you know, how are things going to be in the future when, you know, you have like an actual soft fork proposal or something like that. So
yeah, exactly.
And speaking of the future, let's talk about building it, not through code or policy, but through power. Real physical power, the kind that keeps this network alive. Would you mine Bitcoin if it were as easy as buying it? Then you should check out Sazmining. It's not hosted mining, it's mining as a service that actually puts Bitcoiners first. You can own a state-of-the-art mining rig, plug into affordable carbon-free energy, and stack Bitcoin just like Satoshi. No middlemen, no markups, and no worries. Saz doesn't tack on extra fees when you sign up, and unlike other companies, there are no rig upcharges or inflated power rates. Their entire business model is based on a clean and simple revenue share. They only earn Bitcoin if you are too. A total alignment of incentives and 100% Bitcoiner values. While some claim simplicity, Sazmining proves it. Let's just say if you need a compass to find your miners, you're not in the right place. This is how Bitcoin mining should have always been done. Visit sazmining.com or scan the QR code to learn more and start hashing. If Sazmining helps you own the machine that mints sats, this next one helps you unlock their value without selling them. If you're stacking sats, you need Bitcoin-backed services you can trust. That's why we roll with Ledn, the global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending. Ledn has issued over $9 billion in loans since 2018 and a perfect record of protecting client assets. Why is a Ledn loan different? Collateral is not lent out to generate interest. No credit checks, funds in 24 hours, no monthly payments, and repay whenever you want. Zero penalties. And their proof of reserves verified every 6 months keeps them transparent. Ledn lets you unlock liquidity without selling. Sign up through Simply Bitcoin for 25 basis points off your first loan. Scan the QR code or click the link in the show notes below to get your discount today. Now, let's get back to the show. But there's a third camp, the one where me and other 42 IQ plebs lie, and it is the freeze it camp. It's nice down here. Bitcoin educator Adam Simica suggested a simple path. Don't upgrade. Stay on Core v28, the last pre-ordinals version. Why? Because it still works perfectly. You don't need to run knots or join a dev faction. You can literally freeze your node and lock it to the last stable release before the drama began. Talk about opting out. Your node will still validate real transactions, still connect to the network, still run Bitcoin as sound money. Think of it as opting out of automatic updates, not because you hate progress, but because you value stability and you like the way that your phone worked before you upgraded it. God, does that ever happen to you? It's so annoying. I hate it when that happens. Opt out of the drama like you would opt out of the latest annoying iPhone update. Because as you know, in software, latest doesn't always mean better. In monetary systems, change itself is kind of a risk. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is nothing. Why this matters, let's zoom out.
Look at this core versus not situation. By removing limits on data, core opens the door for Bitcoin to become a bloated database for NFTs, token, and yes, potentially illegal content. Governments love that. They can point to CSAM on the blockchain and say, see, Bitcoin harbors criminals. We need to regulate it. Ban self-custody or force filters that we control. It's the perfect excuse to attack. And who's enabling this? Some in the community, sellouts who believe the lies or chase short-term gains. These morons think allowing unlimited garbage is innovation or neutrality. But neutrality doesn't mean letting your house fill with trash. It means protecting the core function sound money. By allowing easy uploads of illegal dangerous material, they are contributing to the attack on Bitcoin, these traitors to the cause handing ammunition to the enemy. We need to call them out loudly and never let them near Bitcoin code again. No mercy for those who compromise the network for profit or ego. This is where the bigger picture comes into focus. We're not just debating software, we're fighting for the future of freedom. The enemy will go to extreme lengths, lobbying developers, funding AstroTurf campaigns, even co-opting projects to dilute Bitcoin's message. Remember, the block size wars. That was an attempt to centralize Bitcoin under big players. Now it's data spam wars. But the goal is the same. Make Bitcoin controllable. We must unite in a way never seen before, not as core users or NOTs users, but as Bitcoiners defending the protocol. Run NOTs if you want to filter spam and keep your node clean. Support developers who prioritize money over large dumps. Educate others on self-custody. Use hardware wallets. Absolutely run your own node and verify transactions yourself. Don't give the enemy an iota of opportunity to advance. No compromises on filters that could be weaponized. No tolerance for changes that bloat the chain and invite regulation. If we unite, we win. Bitcoin becomes the global standard for sound money, stripping power from corrupt systems. Economies flourish without inflation. Individuals thrive without permission. The state shrinks because it can't fund itself endlessly. But if we lose, if we let divisions fester, if we allow garbage to overrun the network, we all lose, including these sellout morons who think they're clever. Their short-term wins will crumble when governments clamp down, banning self-custody and turning Bitcoin into another fiat tool.
This isn't just some GitHub squabble. It's a mirror reflecting Bitcoin's biggest question. Are we still building money? Or have we drifted into building everything else? If Bitcoin keeps trying to be everything, art, tokens, data storage, it risks losing the one thing that made it unstoppable, simplicity. And if we lose simplicity, we lose some credibility. Wouldn't you agree? And when that goes, the price doesn't matter because the price is a symptom. Purpose is the foundation. You can have $500,000 in Bitcoin, but if the network turns into a cluttered experiment that no one trusts, that number won't mean anything.
Not a damn thing!
Bitcoin's greatest threat isn't regulation or competition. It's dilution, not just externally from banks and governments, but also internally from our own people. And in my opinion, the more definitions we attach to what Bitcoin is, the less powerful and original the definition becomes. And before we wrap, Mining Disrupt is almost here, and you don't want to miss it. The biggest Bitcoin mining event of the year is taking over Dallas, Texas, November 11th through the 13th. This may be your last chance to go to the most important Bitcoin mining event in history. The biggest names in the industry, cutting-edge rigs, Bitcoin and AI integration, the signal you won't get anywhere else. Grab your tickets today and use promo code SimplyBitcoin for 20% off, and we'll see you there.
And the developers too. They are going to have to do what we want them to do. So we'll see what happens. I'd say that I personally think that Datum and decentralizing mining by people the hash salesmen actually being miners rather than just hash salesmen is a bigger thing than the spam issue, really. That's the core, pun intended, core underlying problem.
Listen, I'm not here to tell you what software to run or not to run. I'm here to remind you why we run it. Because this isn't just code anymore. It's culture, and cultures can crumble long before the system fails. So before you FOMO or panic sell, ask yourself, does Bitcoin still feel like Bitcoin? Can Bitcoin still change the world? If your answer is yes, then maybe the fix isn't another update. Maybe it's holding on to why we built it in the first place. Remember, the price won't matter if we destroy ourselves from within. That's it for my show today. Thank you so much for watching Simply Bitcoin's Satoshi. If you found any value in today's show, smash the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. Share this show with your friends, and as always, stack, slay, and stay bullish, baby.